Home is where the heart is, but it's also a place for creativity, design, decor, renovation, entertaining, and a cozy spot for showcasing our personalities to those we invite in. If you love home decor shows but wish they had a local point of view, don't go anywhere. I'm Kasie Savage, and this is The Nest, your destination for all things home, decor, lifestyle, with a neighborhood feel. So cozy up, grab a drink, get comfy, because today we've got the experts, the pros, and all the tips, tricks, picks, and advice that you need to create your best nest. Okay, this first segment today, when we talk to our designer, might be a little painful for some of us to hear because I'm actually super excited for this. We have Sarah Hepburn-Smith here from Sarah Hepburn Design, and she is going to be talking about pet peeves, designer pet peeves. These are the design 101 offenses that she sees so often in homes, and she finally gets to speak freely about them. And it's kind of an intervention for you and for myself, from draperies to artwork to rug size. So let's get into it right away. It might hurt, but we need to, rip the Band-Aid off, let the wounds heal and start fresh, right?
Absolutely.
This is cathartic for both of us.
It is cathartic. And I see a lot of homes as I'm in and out of clients' places for consultations. And sometimes there's small things that you can do to just make your space feel a little bit more finished, a little bit more complete. So I've got a few pet peeves to share with you today.
All right, well, let's start. And these are things that can easily be remedied.
Some can be more easily than others, but yeah. So one of the first ones that I see is the placement of your drapery rod or the length of your drapes. So in this image, you can see there's two graphics, and one where the drapery rod is placed just above the window, and then the other where the drapery rod is closer to the ceiling. And you want the one where it's closer to the ceiling because it gives the effect of making your room look taller.
Ah.
The second piece is you always want your drapes to go to the floor. Too often I see drapes that are, look like little floods and they don't quite make it all the way.
What about pooling? Is that out?
No, not necessarily in the right application.
Or puddling.
Puddling is still a thing, often seen in more formal spaces with silk draperies and such. But for your everyday run-of-the-mill drapery, depending on what you're doing.
This one also makes your window look wider.
It
as
does,
well. So
yeah.
Taller
so you
and
can
wider.
play with the scale of your window on that front.
Okay, let me see.
And then the
next
next one is hanging art.
Okay,
so this is actually,
contentious.
this might be a little bit of a beef even for otherwise, but you want to think, if you're looking in the placement of your sofa, you want to make sure that your art is the right proportion for the piece of furniture that's in front of it. And if you don't have a piece that's the right proportion, consider hanging multiple pieces as you go.
So in other words, if it's not the right proportion, how about not using it?
Correct.
Instead of trying to make it work.
Okay. The other thing is when you hang it, always make sure that it is hung at eye level. And by eye level, I mean for sort of the average height person. So anywhere between 60 and 66 inches to the center of the piece off the ground.
So unless you're living in a home where everyone is like a basketball player, it should be roughly around the same height in each home.
Roughly around the same height in each home. Yeah. The next pet peeve that comes into play a fair amount is the placement of your area rugs.
This is a toughie.
It is a
never know
toughie.
what to
it's
do.
The placement and the size.
Yeah.
I see this a ton in two rooms in particular. One is the living room, like you see here, and in particular where you see in this graphic with the too small area rug. Please don't do that.
Okay, so you can't not just stick it underneath the coffee table.
You don't want a little postage stamp area rug under your coffee table.
So
you want to extend it far enough so at a minimum, the front legs of your pieces of furniture sit on it. Or you can even go so far as it actually creates a defined space in your room.
Okay, I get it. So it almost, even if your room is enormous, or even if you have an awkwardly laid out room, you take your area rug, you put everything on it, and now it looks like its own little space.
Its own defined space, yeah. And you still have, and it anchors everything.
Okay.
And then another area rug, this is in the bedroom. So what you really want to create is a soft landing space when you get out of bed. You want your feet to land on the carpet versus where your feet don't land on the carpet. So
it lands on the dog's feet if it's at the end of the bed.
That is also a possibility.
But otherwise, you're saying no. Okay, no. And then I love this one. We talked about this earlier. How many times, if you've got kids, have your kids said, oh, I really want to redo my room. My favorite color is bright orange.
Yes. And so your favorite color may be bright orange. And one of my pet peeves is when parents let their kids choose the orange.
Okay,
so
how
they
can
hand
we
them,
help
they say
them?
Take them to their local paint store, and the kid sees this candy color of orange, or you ask and it's Susie's favorite color of pink that goes on the wall. So here's my advice on that front,
a nice
Kasie.
democratic parent without
stifling
creativity.
So I always start by interviewing the child first. What are their likes? What are they interested in? What's your favorite color? And often when you get to color, kids always have an opinion. I like red, I like blue, I like purple, I like whatever. So I always find a way to try to incorporate that into the space. When it comes to choosing paint colors, as you know, I like to always choose paint last once I know what everything else is in the room.
Right.
But when it comes to choosing paint colors, I will give kids 3 choices of what I already approve. So there are 3 pre-approved choices. This is like choosing your fan deck, honestly, is like drinking out of a fire hose for kids. They can't handle it. Like, it's just, you're gonna have like crazy gobs of, people can't handle it. So give them a choice that works for you, that works for the rest of your home. And if they still want that crazy, crazy bright color,
okay, so let me see this.
Find another home for it in your room. So either bring it in your bedding, you can consider painting it on the ceiling, you can.
So this is what I would do. Thank you very much for your tip. Do you like gray, grayish, or beige? Just keep the choices simple. Sarah, thank you so much. Stick around. More from Sarah at the end of the show. Coming up, we're talking energy efficiency with Allaire Homes' very own Dave Clayton. Stay with us. How efficient is your home when we're talking about energy? And I'm not just talking about, turning the lights off when you're not using them. There are so many ways to save hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars that you can spend at your favorite local home store at the end of the year instead of just on wasted energy. So here to give us some tips and tricks from Allaire Homes, Aurora Newmarket, we have Dave Clayton. So good to have you here. We were just having, before we came on air, a riveting conversation about energy efficiency.
Right. It's an interesting topic.
It is an interesting topic. And you were saying that basically it's a simple formula. You want to find a way to heat your home efficiently and keep the heat in your home.
Right.
It sounds simple, but how do we do that?
Yeah, simply put, we want to reduce the operating costs. We want to produce heat as efficiently as possible. And then we want to keep it as long as possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know every time I get one of those bills in the mail that says, we're comparing your energy efficiency to your neighbors, and then we end up feeling like giant, horrible losers because it says that compared to your neighbors, you're using 280% more energy, which is sad and depressing, but really there's a few easy steps we can take. Let's start with the water heater, for example. I didn't actually realize that I had an alternative besides that massive, huge tank in my furnace room.
Right, so what most people are used to seeing is this big submarine of a unit that's in your basement, takes up half your furnace room. At any given time, you're keeping 40 to 60 gallons of water heated and ready for on-demand use. When you're not home for the weekend.
Yeah, if you're on vacation, it's just sitting there.
It's sitting there, it's continuing to keep that water hot. You're wasting a lot of energy that you don't need to.
Okay, so what can we do besides not having a hot shower?
So what the very simple solution is upgrade to a tankless water heater. Mm-hmm. The tankless water heater, like you see in the photo here, it's about the size of a carry-on suitcase. It mounts on your wall. That was an electrical
panel. It's so small.
Right, yeah, it mounts on your wall. It sits idle 90% of the time and only kicks on when you actually need hot water.
Okay, but there has to be a catch here. Kicks on when you need hot water. How can it actually heat the water instantaneously, or do you have to wait a bit?
You have to wait a little bit just for the unit to heat up. It's a matter of seconds. You're probably looking at a difference of 10 to 15 seconds more to actually heat the water and to get it flowing through the system.
Okay, so what does it take to convert? How much effort does it take and cost to convert from your standard huge big water heater to a tankless water heater?
Yeah, so the upfront investment in the unit itself, you're usually looking at least double the cost to purchase a tankless water heater. Once it's in place, your energy consumption is a fraction. So over time, it pays for itself very quickly.
What kind of savings are we talking about? Let's talk dollar bills here.
Yeah,
or loonies and toonies. What are we talking about?
So for a large family that's taking several showers a day, you'd probably be looking at several $100s a year.
Several $100s a year for an average, say, family of 4. That's huge.
Sure. Yeah.
That is huge. And how long would we expect this tankless water heater to actually last before we have to replace it?
A pretty long time. I think most manufacturers have a 10 to 15 year warranty, very similar to what we expect out of a conventional water heater.
So you're probably in the custom homes that you're building at Allaire Homes, you're probably exclusively putting these in as opposed to the big guys.
The vast majority. Some people see it as a convenience factor. Having the hot water on demand, you turn the tap on, the water's hot. Some people don't want to wait 20, 30 seconds longer. But there is a financial trade-off there.
Okay, what other ways can we improve the energy efficiency in our home?
Right, so upgrading your furnace to a high efficiency furnace as opposed to a conventional furnace, utilizing in-floor heating for radiant type of heat, and then also when we look at keeping the heat in the home as long as possible, things like your doors, windows, and insulation plays a big role.
So I guess a key indicator for doors and windows is when you're sitting near a door or window and you feel that icy cold breeze in December blowing across your neck or your ankles, that's a sign that perhaps you're not dealing with an energy efficient door or window.
Right, perhaps it's time to upgrade. So it's simply now for your double pane windows, we're actually going to keep the window slab itself will retain heat much longer, but proper installation is key as well. So you want to make sure that you're having them professionally installed, and we do have a full seal around the perimeter of the window.
Okay, if we don't want to replace the doors and windows right now, not in the budget, what can we do? Just, besides what I would imagine is just taking some, foam insulation and getting it in those cracks.
So swapping out the weather sealing as well. There's kind of two areas where we could see air leakage around the frame of the window slab, where the window meets the frame. There's a weather stripping there. If that's torn or deteriorated, you have a bit of a problem. And then also the foam around the frame itself.
So you can check that and inspect that. Now, is that something you can do yourself, or is that something you would leave exclusively to a pro?
It's a pretty obvious DIY for someone to check to see if it is leaking.
Yeah.
For a repair, it's probably something you want to get a professional to do.
And so when you're doing custom homes, I'm guessing that everything is, in this day and age, is as energy efficient as you can probably get, correct?
Correct. Energy Star Windows is a standard across the board. Building code now mandates a very high level of insulation in the ceiling and in the walls. So again, we're doing everything to trap that heat, keep it in the home as long as possible.
This is really good news for my youngest son, whose room always feels as though it's in subarctic conditions. Maybe he just needs to improve the insulation in there as well. Okay, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere because we need your unbeatable advice, tips, and tricks at the end of the show when we talk to the pros. But coming up, it's the Love It List with Jacqueline Kovacs, editor of York Life magazine, so don't go anywhere. Entryway to your home. It's where you make that first impression. It's where you welcome people. If yours is more sending people to the exit because it looks so terrible and you've got clutter and you don't know what to do about it, guess what? With our Love It List, we have Jacqueline Kovacs back, editor of York Life magazine. She's done all the shopping for us, and you went to Saturday afternoons.
I did.
Which really has something for every part of your home.
Yeah, and they're unique and they're affordable, and yes, it's so varied. It's
they have a very
shop.
Charming entry. The
They
little
do.
door,
They
the little
do.
bells on the door. Okay, so how do you set the stage for an entryway?
Well, this is the time of year where there's a lot of shoe removal or boot removal, and you could have something unattractive and functional, or you could have something attractive and functional, like this lovely little carpet.
Okay, now
It's
when
indoor, outdoor,
Yeah.
you can wash it, and yet it looks pretty. It doesn't look like a rubber mat.
I love the fact that this is Dash and Albert. They're known for the durability of their rugs, because you're so right. You don't have to have just that big black utilitarian home improvement store.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Or even layer this on top of that, I'm thinking, so that you get the best of both worlds. But I've seen these outdoors as well as indoors.
Yes.
So imagine if you picked up on two, so you're outside your front door, sets the stage, you walk in.
Yeah, and there's a ton of colors and patterns. Like this is just one representative.
Really, really durable. Love this. Okay, what's another key component to our entryway?
Keys, literally. With people tossing keys, people tossing sunglasses, people tossing phones, leaving notes. This also comes in with a chalkboard. If you could say, pick up some milk, you could throw your keys in here, your phone in here, your sunglasses in here, and it's all tidy and organized.
Oh my gosh. See, I'm a huge fan of tidy and organized. I can't seem to get the 4 boys in my house on board with the tidy and organized, which is a bit frustrating. But this looks really great as well. And we're seeing so many of these weathered woods, this kind of rustic look as well. And I love if you can get this directionally to work in your house, where the arrows are pointing, you know, in
or out,
or depending how long the party's gone, you can just kind of put that on the opposite wall. So that's super pretty. And what else do you have?
I also have, it's, you know, once again, gloves, hats, mitts, scarves. I can't find them.
Socks.
Yeah,
my
please
house,
no.
I don't know why there are no socks on anyone's feet, but there is a plethora of odd socks just scattered.
Just single socks.
Not a pair to be found in my house.
Well, put them in here. It's pretty and it's functional. Again, that perfect combination for when you're coming in the door.
I love how it looks on the rug,
and also
too.
leaving, you know, they know where to find. Mom, I can't find my mitts. I can't find my hat. In the basket.
Yeah, check the basket. Maybe if you have the space, even picking up on 2, 3, 4 of these, and everyone, you get like a great little chalkboard tag hanging down in the front with someone's initial on it, and that's a way that you can help. Everyone has their own basket.
Yes. And these come in different, I mean, this is square. They have them in round, they have them larger, smaller. Again, if you wanted to do the individual ones, you could go with small ones.
I just put on our Facebook page, The Nest with Kasie Savage, a link to all sorts of great entryways. And I love the idea as well, if you can, of having a bold front door color. I don't have that option at my place, but don't you just love the idea of having, what color is your front door?
Well, it's brown, but it needs to be painted. It was teal, and I am seeing more and more of that big pops of red or yellow, and it just lightens everything up and gives some character to your home.
Especially in so many neighborhoods that we live in, where all the houses are kind of cookie cutter. It's like, I'm the one with the red door. Okay, thank you so much, Jackie. Stick around, because we need your sage advice coming up just after this break. We gather our panel of pros to answer your questions about design and decor, so stay tuned. And we are complaining about our entryways and everything else that has gone wrong with our homes, but we're not going to trouble you with all that nonsense. We are going to tackle one of our viewer questions. In this case, it's a gorgeous home that I can't wait for you to see. We've assembled our panel of pros. Sarah Hepburn of Sarah Hepburn Design. We have Dave Clayton. He's with Allaire Homes, Aurora Newmarket, and the one and only ever sophisticated Jayco, also known as Jacqueline Kovacs, editor of York Life magazine. So here's what we've got going on today, and I can't wait until you see this photo. I love that the producer saw this photo and asked me if it was my own kitchen, and I wish is all I can say, because I live with only boys and I would love the opportunity to inject some pink in there. But this kitchen caught our eye because we're mixing metals. And so many of us got caught up in the brushed nickel, satin nickel, silver tone. And now you're seeing homes where everyone wants those soft gold hues. But how can we inject or mix those metals without having to redo our entire home? Or can we? This is one of those topics that I'm sure, Sarah, you come across all the time, where people think, if I have satin nickel, I can only do satin nickel, or if I have gold, I can only do gold. What's the rule of thumb?
Well, I mean, certainly it's the more comfortable and safe choice for people to keep it all with the same metal. But the main rule of thumb that I encourage people, and it shows up in this image here too, where you've got the gold in your pendants, and then it's repeated again in the legs of those gorgeous pink bar stools, is repeat it somewhere else. So don't just have some random injection of a different type of metal, but always repeat.
So intentional versus mistake.
Absolutely. It does, if you put in only one piece, it has the effect of, hey, I chose my favorite thing, but it doesn't relate to anything else in the space.
So does this apply for all design? Can you make different wood finishes work together as long as you
Well, wood's a bit of a different animal, so it really depends on what you're doing. This rule certainly applies to metals, to certain colors, but wood, if you're thinking about it in terms of your flooring or your millwork, that has to be considered a little more carefully.
Okay, now Dave, you work almost exclusively with custom home build. So what are you seeing in terms, what are customers asking for now? What are you doing a lot more of? Are you seeing less of the silver tones, more of the gold tones? Are you mixing metals? And where are you seeing these different fixtures and finishes?
Yeah, so within the kitchen, we're seeing a lot of people kind of swapping out their hardware, going from a sort of a more contemporary style cabinet with maybe a traditional style hardware, vice versa, or even at times no hardware. And we just have a simple touch latch type of door opening that doesn't require hardware at all.
That sounds very modern, the touch latch. Just press it and it pops open.
Right.
And Jackie, what about you? What are your preferences? What are you seeing? What do you like to do in terms of finishes and metals?
Well, I like to go with classics, so I would probably stick with, I mean, I have the brushed nickel as well. But you can easily add an accessory. You can do some counterscaping with certain metals, and you can, as Sarah was saying, pick them all in the same tone so that you're carrying it through that way. It's affordable and it's easy to do, and it puts you on trend.
And what are some metals, Sarah, that you would say you can never go wrong with? I remember watching a design show once, and the designer said, for a bathroom, always go with chrome, polished chrome, because it will never go out of style and you don't have to worry about, like, what's your opinion on that?
I'm a big fan of a brushed or a satin nickel as a classic type of finish. Chrome is not unusual, so it is seen in different places, but there's just something really classic about that nickel feel to it.
And what metal tone, I don't even know if you can say which ones are classic or timeless. To me, metals are always classic or timeless, but we're joking about that builder's brass. Yeah. You're not seeing that necessarily coming back?
No, what you're seeing more is a warm gold. A lot of people have that in their homes now. We're now starting to see more copper being used as a different metal too.
Yeah, I love copper.
Injecting it, not so much in terms of your more expensive items like your lighting or hardware, but just what Jacqueline was saying in terms of the tablescapes and accessories, it's really coming into play.
Now I know we were talking about, say, your silver tones mixing with your gold. What about coppers and gold? Things that are too similar, do those work? Or brass with gold? Like, what's the rule of thumb?
You want to be careful that you're not mixing the undertones of things and what they go with. So I would probably try to stay away with things that are too similar in terms of their tone and add a little more contrast to it.
And what about black, good old-fashioned black?
I love black. So there's some great, particularly for plumbing fixtures, there's some great matte black fixtures out there. There's awesome hardware that's out there too. So that one's a real, much more of a contemporary look, but certainly a great finish.
And Dave, what about for the homes that you guys have been working on lately? Where have you added? What about even for the range hood? Are you seeing those in different elements other than your standard wood finish or stainless steel?
Those seem to be the most popular. Kind of integrating that in with your cabinetry design is always a popular choice, but of course the exposed metal, the stainless steel, I don't think that really ever goes out of style.
Okay, everyone seems to be doing industrial lately. How are you feeling about industrial as a whole? Do you feel like it's not quite as timeless? Do you caution against it when we think about, you know, just in terms of light fixtures, just an Edison bulb hanging from a wire and everything kind of being distressed wood and black? What's your feel on that?
I mean, I think in the right application, it certainly works. And you're right, we are seeing a ton of it. So like any trend, its time will come and something else will come into play, for sure.
How long do trends last?
It depends on what it is. I mean, and certainly, you know, trends used to be sort of 5 to 10 years, but like with anything, the time window is starting to shorten on that. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the lesson to be learned is, when in doubt, stay classic. And maybe, again, always infuse those little trends or those little touches in things that are lower price point, move them in and out, accessories, that sort of stuff. Okay, I hope you learned something new. Hope you feel inspired. Maybe you're gonna go head over to Saturday afternoons and pick up on some entryway decor, or maybe you're thinking about ways to be more energy efficient. You can give Dave a call over at Allaire Homes, but don't forget to check out our Facebook page. I've been posing some questions to Sarah Hepburn, Sarah Hepburn Design, and we love sharing, so share with us as well. Reach out directly to our pros on The Nest with Kasie Savage, and we will see you again soon.